Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. My name is Nikki as usual. My video is not for children, although I don't think I'll be using spicy language as much in this video. There are people in this world that need to stop patronizing Black South Africans. Guys, stop putting Black South Africans on trial for their integrity just because you don't recognize it for what it is. I repeat, stop putting Black people in my country on trial for their integrity because you guys refuse to recognize it for what it is. I have seen far too many comments in the YouTubes patronizing Black South Africans because you guys are not capable of what they're capable of. That's all it proves to me. So yes, I recognize that I am defined as a different race by everybody who sees me. I recognize, for instance, that in America I'm seen as Black. Always loved that. It gave me a sense of belonging. In South Africa, I'm defined as colored. I'm speaking as somebody from a different race, standing up for my people. Okay? In South Africa, when I grew up as a little child, they used to say, "What race are you?" I would say I'm colored. They'd go, "But what race is your father?" And I would go, "White." And you go, "Well, then you're white." So whatever you want to define me as, I want to be clear. That's your issue, whatever. It's got nothing to do with me because you're racially illiterate. I talk about that in my mixed race videos. For further information, go to those. But people consistently patronize the Black people in my country. And like I said before, you don't know what you're dealing with. So we're going to speak here as someone who has grown up in this country. What I see. I am sick and tired of this patronization. So I'm going to show you a video that explains South Africa to toddlers because some of you grown-ups don't get it. You don't get it, so it's going to be explained to you nicely. Ne? In toddler language. Asambeni, because I don't understand. Listen now nicely, boys and girls.
The ball down right by the posts. Our guys, they can kick lacquer most of the time. As South Africans, we've got black guys, white guys, and colored guys in our team. So we play to our strengths. When we want somebody who can run frack fast around the corners, we call the colored guys. When we want somebody to pick fights with giants, we call the Boersians. When we want an inspirational leader whose life we can follow, we call Sia and Amadoda. That's because...
Did you hear that? When we want inspirational leaders, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy said it. We want inspirational leaders. We call who?
When we want an inspirational leader whose life we can follow, we call Sia and Amadoda.
We call the Black people. He said it very plainly. When we want inspirational leadership, we call the Black people. Okay? There are many, many reasons why. Millions of reasons why. So I have put out these videos just of stuff that I remembered. I just put it together now. You can see this is an unplanned video. I'll see if I feel like editing it. It may not need that. Okay? But, first of all, it is not the first time that Black South Africans have commanded respect for who they are. Okay? Over there. So what I'm trying to say, before I carry on, I want to say that when you guys say these patronizing things like, Black South Africans are bowing down to their colonial masters, that doesn't define them. All you are saying is that the only interracial friendship, the only interracial relationship, whether political, business, or otherwise, that you can conceptualize is that of servant-master. You are the one patronizing Black people, not our people there. Not our Black people. They never said that. Let the record show that it was you. And if you are that kind of individual, perhaps you should question why people don't want to be friends with you. Perhaps it's time to look in the mirror, okay? Because the race card is an easy card to play, and now you're playing it on our Black people as well. You'll stop at nothing in terms of how low you stoop. They don't need any more stress, okay? Here is the first winner of a Nobel Peace Prize.
An endorsement of our own struggle in South Africa and the manner in which we have tried to carry out that struggle.
Chief Albert Luthuli, first Nobel Peace Prize winner. By the way, show me in your country where there is one street in a ghetto that has 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners. 2. Desmond Tutu President Nelson Mandela. One street in a ghetto. Show me. Look at all of these people standing up in awe of him. Show me this in your country. Show me any country, whatever country you live in, heterogeneous or otherwise. Show me this.
Sia Kulisi, you've written your name on every heart in this land. You've broken the barriers of cultures and races. You've planted good seed in the ground. Sia Kulisi.
A white man with a guitar singing a country song in awe of a black man. Okay?
I just got back from filming in South Africa. That's an absolutely stunning country. And there's a beautiful philosophy. It's Ubuntu that originated there. And it is the idea that humanity is based on the plural, not the singular.
Show me in your country. Show me in your country in the 90s, hundreds, thousands of white people who were gaining from white privilege. Ain't nobody gonna lie about that. Who got up at stupid o'clock in the morning to go and vote. To go and vote against racism because of the respect that black South Africans had commanded. Let's have a look at the 1992 referendum.
Good morning. Welcome to this special TV1 newscast. White South Africans are flocking to the polls today in one of the country's most historic referendums, a referendum which will decide the future of South Africa.
They got up at stupid o'clock in the morning. This was a landslide vote for democracy to end apartheid. And by the way, I meant to show you footage as well of white people who spent their lives in prison. I better go find that actually. Who spent their lives in prison against apartheid. You guys actually don't know this, do you? Because you want to patronize black South Africans who actually know their own history. You talk about the one chapter that you read in a book. You think that watching one YouTube video, one documentary about apartheid makes you an expert, and you come and patronize the people who actually live here as if they don't know what they're doing, as if they're incapable. What are you saying? You are the one who has a problem. Just give me a second. Here it is. Escape from Pretoria in order to end apartheid. That is Daniel Radcliffe, if you're wondering. He's playing Tim Jenkins, who went to jail in the fights against apartheid. And all the white South Africans, they were actually standing up against apartheid, because you guys don't know these things. You like to patronize, you like to talk, you like to run your mouths, but you don't actually know what's going on. You guys expect people to sit and argue with you all the time.
I was held in solitary confinement for close on 3 weeks in a tiny cell. It was minute. I could touch either side of the walls. I had one rectangular window above me where I couldn't really see anything. There was a toilet in the cell, and that was it. I was let out half an hour in the morning to exercise, which involved running around a face brick yard, and again half an hour in the evenings. That was the toughest part.
Putting up a letter box for anti-apartheid letters.
We joined the prohibited African National Congress.
So he talks about joining the ANC when it was banned, right? There are many people like that. I personally know people like that who spent time in prison. White people like that. Okay, there it is. That's Breitenbach that you are looking at. Breitenbach. An entire prison cell of them, right? The anti-apartheid white folk there. Not even a South African white person. That other guy was French. This is the whole white boys cell, okay? Of which you know nothing. So it's not that black South Africans don't take racism seriously.
Yeah, and then she was arrested, and they sentenced her to 3 years in prison for saying that.
Want to pretend that black South Africans are weak. One boy said a slur. The next day, a political party was outside of the school marching. They take it incredibly seriously. They are not these weak people that you guys make them out to be.
Members in Limpopo have marched to what school Ben Foster in Tsenin. It comes after a pupil at the school called a social media personality, the K word, during a live social media broadcast.
That was the next day. They were marching the next day. They didn't need anybody's help. They don't need to be patronized, okay? But by that same token, here is how seriously they take racism. This woman was unfairly accused of racism, okay? Of course, it was shocking at first because a picture had been taken of children being sat at different tables. Now, one group of the children was Sotho speaking, so they needed very special care and attention, right? And so they got their own table. The rest of the students were Afrikaans speaking. Though in that province, they happen to be white. Now, again, there are people who speak Afrikaans of all races, but in that province, they happen to be white. So the optics didn't look good. And so then this teacher was accused of racism. But what happened?
Teacher accused of racism at a Northwest primary school wants her suspension lifted. Trade Union Solidarity and Laerskool Schweizerenica teacher Ilana Barkhuizen will hold a media briefing today. Tensions are running high in the town after a photo emerged showing black and white classmates seated separately. Now, armed private security guards were seen stationed at the school yesterday. ENTA's Masego Rahlaga is live.
So immediately, armed private security guards were there, just in case this was real, okay? It's not that Black South Africans don't take racism seriously. They're not just lying around waiting for someone to save them. It shows that they took it seriously, but when they realized they were wrong, they stood up. They stood up and there was an apology, okay, when context was given, because people in our country are capable of intelligent debate around race. They look at context. They look at evidence. So here you'll see how the education minister was there immediately. When there was any suspicion of racism, you'll see it.
Education MEC Sello Lehari is meeting the governing body, staff and parents at a school in Schweizerenica. Last week, a teacher was suspended after she found herself embroiled in a controversy over a picture showing black grade R pupils seated separately from their white classmates. ENCA's Linda Kulu joins us from Laerskool.
So you see, they engaged with parents, they engaged with teachers. They made sure that they gathered their evidence first, and they weren't just going to be lazy and make someone a scapegoat, because in our country the race card is not an Uno reverse card. We take racism so seriously that we have to check if it's real. We don't shy away from our racial past. We know the history of our country. We're not really waiting around for someone to come from the Americas or from another country, from the Northern Hemisphere, the powerful Northern Hemisphere, to be like, we're here to tell you what to do. We're here to show you how to be South African properly. We are not interested in the feedback. Okay, guys, I want to make it clear. You don't teach South Africans how to deal with race in the same way that you don't teach an Italian grandma how to make pasta. You don't teach a Frenchman how to make croissants, okay? You actually ask them how to do it. You ask a South African how to deal with race, because we will deal with it in circles around you, and especially our black people. South African young people, our children, can debate circles around the presidents of many countries on the topic of race, colonization, and such, okay? So please listen to this young lady over here, a black girl, in fact, who is going to show you how it's done.
Has united and put in a concerted effort towards educating you, since your current level of education is not doing you any substantial justice. You've had so much time since then to actually educate yourself and then come back and humbly apologize because you were wrong, and you're still wrong. It's not a case of simple language. It is an interlocking, complex social-political context to being colored in South Africa. You even resorted to pulling out a dictionary just to prove some futile intellectualism that you think you have, instead of just pulling out your mere common sense, admitting to being wrong, and at the very least apologizing for disrespecting and contributing to the erasure of a culture, community, racial group that is indigenous to South Africa. Your positionality or your social identities do not comprise of colored and South African. So why do you still think that you know better than coloreds in South Africa themselves, whose voice actually matters the most in this discourse?
Calling your positionality, your identity do not comprise of Black and South African. So why do you think that your voice matters more in the discourse about what Black South Africans should do than Black people themselves, whose voice should be centralized in this conversation?
Have experienced. Yeah, the MEC told us that he's gonna bring along the social workers and then the psychologists just to calm down the kids about the experiences they experienced that day.
Social workers were brought in immediately. Immediately. There was extreme action.
And then the other thing, they will also be talking to us as parents. But to my knowledge and to my understanding, I think actually the Department of Education has gone too far with this matter. The way the teacher explained to me, she definitely did what she said she's going to do during the course of the day, because I was also shocked to learn about the picture, and then I realized after that no, there was other pictures, different pictures where the setting was correct and then the kids were all integrated. So my thought about
Let's play that slowly because people don't listen. Later in the day, there were different pictures. The children were placed there because of a language barrier. South Africans look at evidence. The parent himself didn't just get defensive, he gave the teacher the benefit of the doubt. It wasn't even her class. It wasn't even her class, right? But what you should learn from this is South Africa's sense of fairness and of justice, which is not just a buzzword.
No, there was other pictures, different pictures where the setting was correct and then the kids were all integrated. So
the kids were all integrated. But this demonstrates two things. One, that South Africans, and particularly Black South Africans, take race and racism seriously. It demonstrates further that they are completely capable. They sent in the Minister of Education immediately, immediate response. They sent in social workers. They engaged with parents, and the parents themselves gave the benefit of the doubt. They aren't looking for help from you guys. They really aren't. We had another race debate at another point, right? About a waitress. They told the waitress, "We will give you a tip when you give the land back." Okay, that's what they said on the receipt. Okay, and here was South Africa's response to that.
When I read the issue in the newspapers, or rather online, and I saw the individual, Mr. Kwabe, gloating on Facebook about how he had mistreated, this poor waitress, it registered on an emotional level, on a personal level, that this is un-South African. We don't act like this, and kindness is not a difficult thing to display, regardless of how you feel about people. For whatever reason, this is a young woman who essentially, was trying to make an income to help out with a mother who's sick with cancer.
Speaks about it as being un-South Africans. Now, before you say they're creping gat with white South Africans, listen to the fucking context for once in your lives.
Rejected the behavior of Ntokozo Kwabe and the statement that he made that he will only tip the young lady only when they return, that is the white South Africans return the land back, is borderline criminal behavior, as is foolish. First of all, I think without entertaining this reckless statement, we have to state it clearly that land redistribution has happened in the country. You can go to Western Cape.
He's saying land redistribution has happened in the country, but you guys are trying to judge a 30-year-old country by the measure of countries twice, thrice, 10 times their age. Guys, some of you have had independence. I'm going to say it. You've had independence since the 1960s. What have you achieved compared to Black South Africans? They have already started the work. It doesn't happen overnight. Give them the dignity of their process. He's going to mention that it has happened. It will continue to happen. We are engaging. We are not perfect. We don't pretend to be perfect, but it's happening.
We have to state it clearly that land redistribution has happened in the country. You can go to Western Cape, Eastern Cape. There's families They can measure what really was returned to them. So the fact that it may have not touched the Kwabe family, and I would actually tell you that he probably doesn't even know where the Kwabes lost their land, so you need to do that. The fact that it has not touched the Kwabe family is no reason for him to dismiss the whole project as that it has not happened. It may have not happened at the pace that he would like, but it has happened.
Listen to the words. You always hear us speaking in harmony there. The fact that it has happened, okay, it might not have happened at the pace that you guys like or anybody likes, is no reason to dismiss that it has happened.
It may have not happened at the pace that he would like, but it has happened.
I like to talk about colonial masters, okay? Here's a black South African that commanded the respect of Queen Elizabeth herself. He was the only one in the world allowed to call her Elizabeth. He just called her Elizabeth, being a royal himself, of course. But the point that I am trying to make is that you guys talk about colonial masters when actually the symbol there of colonial masterdom is in awe of him. That is the respect that black South Africans command. They do. Okay? And you guys patronize them continuously. Now, he may not technically be a South African at the moment, but this is King Mushushu, okay? Who essentially created a whole new country in my country. So that proves that Nelson Mandela was not the first Southern African to gain the respect of the Queen. He gained the respect of Queen Victoria this one.
King Moshoeshoe, founder of the Basotho nation, Lesotho. Strategic thinking and inspirational leadership by King Moshoeshoe in the 19th century led to the formation of Lesotho.
And so yes, you could argue that it's a different country, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, this man commanded the respect. He used missionaries and he had to command the respect of so many different people. Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to get at here is when you patronize our black people as if they need you to come and talk down to them, as if they are just begging for help with their hands held open against the grain, they have for more than a century produced results. They have produced results. Okay? They have produced results. They have raised Miss Universes. They have raised Miss Worlds. They did that not just in Miss South Africa, but in Miss Africa South. So even in a difficult time. Okay? They have raised Nobel Peace Prize laureates. Okay? That's what they've done. That's what they've done. They're not looking at anybody as their colonial masters. We are friends. We're sorry. What must we say? We're sorry that friendship and family is so intolerable to you. Must we apologize for getting along? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? It's not called bowing down. It's called a unilateral relationship. The fact that you can't conceptualize that says something about you. It says something about you. You guys think that skin color entitles you to something in the new South Africa. And then you guys want to call them brothers until you're violating them, until you're coming to create all kinds of human trafficking, prostitution rings, drugs. You want to patronize them. You want to say that they can't live without you. You want to say that they're not capable of running spaza shops. Black South Africans invented spaza shops. They invented the taxi industry that went across Africa. They invented it. And you patronize them. And you speak down to them. And you act like they're waiting for you to come from the sky. Guys, here's an unfortunate fact. There were people in Malawi that had honorary white status. Malawians had honorary white status in this country. Okay? African Americans had honorary white status in this country. A real status during the Apartheid years. And those weren't the first people to march against that or to protest that. There is one African American known for protesting against that, and his name was Arthur Ashe. One day I'm going to make a video to show you how many African Americans, for instance, came here and would refer to black South Africans as, no, those Aborigines. Okay, we're not going to focus on those people. Let's focus on Arthur Ashe. First, we'll focus on the positive. Because yes, I'm not dismissing that people did march against apartheid around the world, but they had to wait for someone else to do that first. Okay? They had to wait So here's Arthur Ashe in South Africa using his American privilege to change things for Black South Africans, to allow them to play tennis without harassment. Okay, but unfortunately, guys, the first people to march against apartheid after Black South Africans were begging was New Zealand.
1981, the anti-apartheid protest movement was in full force. It was August 25. Jim Love was playing for the New Zealand Maori team. They were led onto the field by Captain Billy Bush.
I said to the team, these buggers don't like us coloured buggers. Let's rip into them and beat them.
First time there was international help was during No Maori,
It's been
No Tour.
40 years since the 1981 Springbok Tour of New Zealand. We've heard from some leaders of the anti-apartheid movement and also Graham Murray, who made himself unavailable that year.
1981. There's never been a tour like it. The Springboks Tour of Aotearoa split the nation. Those who wanted to halt the tour and those who wanted to watch the All Blacks smash their biggest rivals. And the result spilled onto the streets of Aotearoa.
Did you ever get a whack?
Did I get I did. I went to hospital twice that night in Hamilton.
Yeah, I got beaten up a few times. I remember once I got beaten up outside of my home.
The images of the tour are iconic, symbolic of how polarising it was. Legendary photographer John Miller has been at almost every protest in the past 50 years.
One last thing. Black people in South Africa are fully capable of calling themselves out as well. There was a whole controversy around Kelly Rowland and Anele Ndoda, one of our DJs here in South Africa, where she was essentially being colorist and Black South African Twitter went for her. They went for her and the woman has not received peace. And for 5 years, the story went on. Black South Africans are against racism. They take it seriously. They do that well. They do their due diligence. You don't need to be patronizing them. They are nobody's servants. They are not bowing down to a master. They are able to hold their own in any argument. They really are. They're fully capable. Even when people are playing mind games. They are. But they don't need you guys to try and bully them into a corner. They really don't. Okay? They don't need you to patronize them. They don't need you to talk down to them. Okay? They are who they are. They know what they're doing. They're doing it a heck of a lot better than a heck of a lot of people in a heck of a lot of countries. A heck of a lot. If you take the time that they've had into consideration, they have achieved more for unity, for peace, for diversity, and for anti-racism than any other nation on this good God's earth. So instead of talking down to them, I would say, Valum lomo vula mehlo, which means close your mouth and open your ears. It is not you that needs to talk down to them. It is you that needs to be listening.
The people who consistently in that video were being articulate, kind, empathetic, and nuanced in the conversation were consistently the Black women.
I think the defining chord that runs through South African identity is the sense of exclusion. If you're poor and Black, you feel excluded. If you're white and your ancestors were colonialists, you feel excluded. If you're multiracial, if you're colored, and your ancestors were slaves and colonialists, you feel excluded. Everybody in this country feels like they're being pushed out of the box of South Africanness. Our country was built on 350 years of systemic violence, misogyny, and the exclusion of people. When we start to deal with the emotional, psychological, and spiritual baggage of that, then we'll start to form a country, we'll start to form a nation. But that is real, deep, inner, emotional, loving work. We need to start speaking from a place of love for self, from a place of love for our children, from a place of wanting this society to be what we imagine it to be in our minds, in our dreams. We've got to want something better than what we have now, and want it more than we want to be right.
Maybe you need to get clear on who the teacher is and who the student is. This has been Nuance with Nikki, a difficult conversation, but a necessary one.
I just got back from filming in South Africa. of the city called Amsterdam country. There's a beautiful philosophy. It's Ubuntu that originated there.